It's December 12th, 2021, and it's time for another video about what I've learned in the last few days about Jussie Smollett. We're going to watch this video. They interviewed the lone black juror who was on the jury, 11 white people and 1 black person. Remember, I want you to remember that juries are unanimous. There's some things that they don't vote on unanimously sometimes, but when people say things like, you know, if a black guy gets let off and the blacks were in the majority in that jury, like, people will assume, oh, it's because there was a black majority, or he didn't get off because it was a white majority. It's like, juries are fucking unanimous, okay? They all have to agree on guilt to convict a guy most of the time. In this case, yeah, unanimous. Like, if there's any doubt, then one person would reflect that. You know, you ever see 12 Angry Men? That's why we have unanimous juries. So, that aside, this guy does not believe that Jussie Smollett is innocent, obviously.
To him, Smollett's testimony made no sense.
The lone black juror on the Jussie Smollett trial is speaking out for the first time. In this exclusive interview with WLS-TV, Andre Hope says Smollett's claim that he was attacked in a hate crime by the Osundairo brothers simply made no sense.
2 o'clock in the morning, cold outside, when you just use your common sense as what's there, yeah, it didn't add up.
Hope.
I hate to insult this guy's intelligence, but I just want to add, please keep this in mind. Nothing makes sense when you're stupid. Nothing adds up when you don't think about it long enough or look at it closely. So if it doesn't add up and it doesn't make sense, maybe you haven't thought about it.
Hope said one critical piece of evidence that convinced him Smollett made up the story was the noose, which police video showed Smollett leaving on his neck for cops to see.
As an African-American person, I'm not putting that noose back on at all.
That's a really weird comment. First of all, Jussie Smollett didn't ask you to put a noose back on. No one asked you to put a noose back on. Second, saying that kind of seems to imply that Jussie Smollett put the noose on purpose. And we don't have any proof that he did that. Only that the jury says he's guilty, but that might get overturned in appeals. So he's basing the idea that Jussie Smollett put the rope around his neck. He's basing that on the idea that I don't even know. Like, he didn't fucking do it. He didn't stage the attack.
I took it very seriously.
He says he was disappointed to see he was the only black person on the panel.
How can we say that this is a jury of your peers when there's only one African American? You could have got 2, 3, 4 African Americans can handle the truth too, and we can give an impartial judgment on a case.
It's kind of a weird comment. Again, sounded like it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, not that this guy is a representative of all black people or how all black people would have weighed in on the decision, but like, he is the only black person there. Like, I suspect that being in the minority served to intimidate him. It sounds like he has some skepticism, because check this out. Check out what he says next.
And while he has no doubts about Smollett's guilt, he's still left with one lingering mystery.
I still have not figured out a motive to why this had to even happen. He was.
I think that's a little weird that you voted guilty and there's a crime without a motive. Don't crimes usually have a motive? If you can't find a motive, then you shouldn't say the guy's guilty. You were the lone black juror on this jury, and you wish there were other black people there. Maybe it's because you're intimidated by all the white people, cops, and prosecutor and judge into corroborating the police's lie about the physical evidence and the alleged confessions. It's like, you should speak up and ask more questions. You should say, hey, 11 other people, white people on this jury, why isn't there a motive? But then supposedly the motive is that Jussie Smollett wanted more money when he was making $100,000 an episode. But if what I'm saying about the Osundairo brothers, you know, in the last few weeks, if that's true, then the motive of the crime would be, you know, that Jussie Smollett actually didn't stage a fake hate crime and the Osundairo brothers didn't help him. If what I've been saying is true, then the motive of the crime would be, as I've been saying, the racketeering operation. For the Osundairo brothers to fabricate a threat, a fake threat against Jussie Smollett to make him think he was in danger, to make him be willing to pay the Osundairo brothers more money for training so that he'd be able to protect himself. So he'd be buff and strong, not only for his role, but to be able to protect himself.
Smollett is awaiting his sentencing. He could face up to 15 years in prison, but the juror says he hopes Smollett only gets probation and that Hollywood gives him a second chance.
It's interesting. Maybe it indicates that he doesn't think that Jussie Smollett is guilty. Or maybe indicates that he doesn't think Jussie Smollett is as guilty as other people seem to think he is. Nigerian scammers do exist, and that's why it's possible that the Osundairo brothers were trying to extort Jussie Smollett for money and racketeer him for more money for training. But we also need to consider the possibility that these were not the two guys out on the street in Chicago that night when they were filmed on video, and the possibility that they are not even the people who bought the items in the store. Like, the police will mistake two black guys for two other black guys all the time, and they'll just jump to the conclusion that they are the ones who did it. But we have to take a closer look at the evidence. We have to examine the evidence closely to figure out who actually bought these items. Now, I just wanted to add one other thing about the possibility that the Osundairo brothers did it. The possibility that you're all being brainwashed to think that Smollett and all blacks, by extension, want to commit racial hate crimes against all whites. You see, when people like me say Jussie Smollett didn't stage the hate crime, like, people will say, yes, he did, and he did it because he hates white people. It's like, I don't think that's what's going on. You saying that Smollett staged the hate crime because he hates all white people, it shows that you're a white racist, or suggests that you're a white racist because you're acting like Smollett is blaming all white people or blaming all Trump supporters for what happened to him. He didn't. He's blaming two people that he claims attacked him, whatever their identities were. We don't know if they disguised themselves. I don't even know anymore if they're really the Osundairo brothers. But Jussie Smollett claims to have been attacked by two guys. He can only guess what their identity is, racially, appearance-wise. He can't be sure that he even mistook them for two other people that were on the street that night. And you'll say, oh, no one was on the street that night. Then why did CBS Chicago report that the jury believes that the attack did happen, or that some form of fight or attack involving Smollett did happen? Two people were filmed walking around that night. So if it was warm enough for them to be out, then it's warm enough for Jussie Smollett to have been out. And therefore it's warm enough for this fight to have happened, or attack, or whatever you want to call it. So the jury believes the attack happened. 20 degrees below zero is nothing. If you have to go out in a polar vortex, if you don't like it, don't live in Chicago. Jussie Smollett's from Chicago. He's used to those low temperatures. So he could have been out that night. So other people could have been out that night. Maybe not guys from Nigeria. Maybe it was too cold for them. Let's think about that. Maybe it was too cold for some guys from Nigeria. Maybe some other African-American guys from Chicago who are from here, where I am. I'm in Waukegan now, in Illinois. Maybe some other people did it. People who are used to Chicago and North America's cold temperatures. Let's look at this possibility. We also have to ask, why would so many people lie in favor of Jussie Smollett? Or why would people lie against Jussie Smollett? Well, I think it's really ironic that a lot of the white people who are very convinced that Smollett fabricated or staged the attack against him, they're now agreeing with the corrupt Chicago police, which they think is coddling black people. And like because of the Democratic Party, every black baby when he's born is dipped in chocolate and given a key to the city. That's what white people outside of Chicago think Chicago is like. That's how they think Chicago treats black people. They don't, okay? They had to choose that one or two black people were guilty. They chose the richer black guy. You know, search me. I don't fucking know why they did that. So why are a bunch of white Trump supporters who hate Jussie Smollett agreeing with a corrupt Democratic Party Chicago political machine that allegedly coddles black people? I think it's because they love authority and they love the police. And they like the chance that they get to intimidate a black gay guy who's the product of interracial marriage. So you're a fucking racist. Jussie Smollett didn't do it. And now we're going to look at the possibility that the Osundairo brothers didn't do it either. This is an article from Rolling Stone from November 30th, 2021, just 3 weeks ago. Says Jussie Smollett trial. This is an article from Rolling Stone from November 30th. It's 3 weeks ago. Jussie Smollett trial. Cop highlights unseen text messages, argues actor staged attack. So here's the quote that allegedly shows that Jussie Smollett sent a text to plan the attack, or this is a text that allegedly shows that he was in cahoots with the Osundairo brothers, rather. As the Chicago Tribune reports, the Osundairo brothers began competing. As the Chicago Tribune reports, the Osundairos began cooperating not long after Smollett allegedly sent a text to Abimbola, also known as Ola, on the February 14th, 2019, that some interpreted, doesn't necessarily mean they're correct, some people interpreted as an attempt to secure the Osundairo's silence. And the text said, "Brother, I love you. I stand with you. I know 1000% you and your brother did nothing wrong and never would. I'm making this statement so everyone else knows. They will not get away with this. Please hit me, as in hit me up, contact me, when they let you go. I am behind you fully." So, again, this is Smollett allegedly sent a text, who's, according to the Chicago Tribune. I have a link to an article that you can read. And some interpreted, it's like, oh, so that is supposed to mean that he's guilty? Well, then why is it allegedly sent a text? Why is only some people interpret it as an attempt to secure their silence? Maybe he wrote it because on February 14th, 2019, he didn't think the Osundairo brothers were guilty. That's the only thing that this text proves. It doesn't necessarily prove that he was in cahoots with the Osundairo brothers, and it definitely doesn't conclusively prove that he staged the attack or that this was proof of them staging the attack. It just proves that they were still friends and still trusting each other as of February 14th, 2019. There's just one problem with this, one very small problem. If Smollett texted these brothers on the 14th, February 14th, as several weeks after the attack, then it means that he might not have figured out that his attackers were the Osundairo brothers, if that's even what happened, until way after February 13th when he gave the ABC Good Morning America interview, and the next day when he sent that text. And that kind of conflicts with my earlier supposition, i.e. my guess that I made, that the time when he figured out or thought it was the Osundairo brothers who attacked him was probably around the time the police showed up at his home or a little bit earlier. That's what I've said before in my videos, but I no longer think that. But it's unclear when Smollett figured out that the Osundairo brothers attacked him. But it's also unclear whether they attacked him in the first place, as I'm about to show you. So we don't know when he figured that out, but it might not matter because there might be nothing to figure out because it might not have actually been the Osundairo brothers who attacked him. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm wrong about anything, except, as I'm about to show you, my confidence that it was the Osundairo brothers who attacked him. So I didn't base any important ideas on the supposition that Smollett figured out it was the Osundairo brothers who attacked him when the police were showing up. I didn't base anything on that guess, so nothing wagered, nothing lost. In a previous video, I've shown you a list of evidence that the police confiscated or claimed that they confiscated from the Osundairo brothers' apartment, and it included magazines and red hats and ski masks, I believe. You can go look at my previous videos if you want to get more information on that. But here is the original video that shows two guys buying black ski masks and red hats at a store. It's from Live Feed's YouTube channel. And it's titled, "Smollett Attack, Osundairo Brothers Bought Supplies at a Beauty Store." This is not necessarily proof that Smollett paid them. He gave them a $3,500 check that was labeled for training. And the police say that these guys bought this stuff with a $100 bill that Smollett gave them. But isn't that just possibly racism on the part of the police or anyone else who might be talking about this? Like, oh, how would a black guy in Chicago have a $100 bill unless some rich actor paid him to do a false hate crime and stage a fake attacks and do a hoax. Blah, blah, blah. So let's take a look at that video again, because I want you to know what the Osundairo brothers actually look like. Okay? Here's some pictures of the Osundairo brothers. Here's some more pictures. It's Abel on the left, Ola on the right. And there again. More same pictures, the guys. Okay, so we know what they look like. Okay. Familiarize yourself with these faces. Now I want you to ask yourself, are these the same people or are they different people? Is that Abel and Ola Osundairo? We got the ski masks and the red hats labeled, but we don't have Ola and Abel labeled. Is that Ola? Are we sure? Is that Abel? It doesn't look like he could be the brother of that other guy. Doesn't look Nigerian, doesn't have that really pronounced jaw like that guy does, or like these guys do. Abel and especially Ola has a pronounced jaw. So that could be Ola, maybe. This could be Ola. But is this really Abel? How much does that guy look like Abel? Let's take another look at Abel. This is supposed to be Abel right here. So is this guy the same person as this guy? I don't think so. Now, I'm not saying this can't be one of the Osundairo brothers. It's possibly Ola. But what if this is Ola's friend? What if this is some other guy? What if this is just some other black guy from Chicago who's not one of the Osundairo brothers? What if Ola was pissed off that his brother was having sex with Jussie Smollett and he's a homophobe, and he hired his friend, who is not an Osundairo brother, to attack Jussie Smollett? Or what if this guy isn't even an Osundairo brother to begin with? How much does he really look like these guys? How much does he really look like? Which one is he? Are these the same people or aren't they? Tell me in the comments. Are they the same people or not? Look, here's another angle. There it is from another angle. Are we sure? How sure are we that these are the same two guys? Now, let me ask you another question. Do these guys look big enough to be bodybuilders? I don't think so. Do you think they could be the same guys as these guys, who are definitely bodybuilders? You tell me those are the same guys? You know what? I don't even think that this guy is one of the Osundairo brothers either, because he doesn't fucking look like any of them. You tell me this guy on the right is one of these guys? I don't fucking think so. I think we're dealing with 4 or 5 different black people here, and the cops and everyone who's looked at this, the pictures and the evidence a tiny, tiny bit and just made up whatever else they think based on a Dave Chappelle monologue, maybe they haven't looked closely enough at these guys' faces. This has been published and suggested that these are the Osundairo brothers. Maybe it is on the left, but the right, I'm not sure about that. So I don't think these are the fucking Osundairo brothers. These definitely are the Osundairo brothers. These appear to be the same guys. These appear to be the same guys. Same guys. Probably the same guys, looks enough like them. But are you sure? Sorry to go back and forth over and over again. Are you sure they're the same people? Are we sure, white people? Are we sure, Chicago police? Why aren't the guys labeled, but the things they're buying are labeled? Because we don't know which one of them is supposed to be Abel and which one's supposed to be Ola. Look how I have them labeled on my computer. Guy on left, possibly Ola. Guy on right, possibly Abel. How sure are we? Keep looking back and forth to them as long as you need to. Guys who bought the red mat, the guys who bought the red hats and the ski masks at the store, verified picture of Abel and Ola. Guys who were buying red hat in the store, guys who were buying red hat and ski masks at the store, verified picture of Ola and Abel. Fuck. Guys who bought the red hats and ski masks at the store, verified picture of Abel and Ola. Abel on the left, Ola on the right. Guys who bought a red hat and ski mask at the store, verified picture of Abel and Ola. Abel on the left, Ola on the right. Do these guys look like the same people? I want you to tell me in the comments. Is this a case of mistaken identity? It's almost certainly a case of mistaken identity on somebody's part in all this. What do you guys think? Let me ask you another question. I asked you earlier, do these guys look like bodybuilders? They don't seem as big as the Osundairo brothers, which possibly explains why, people said if Smollett had been beaten up by the Osundairo brothers, he would have been creamed. He would have had his ass kicked, possibly even died, because they were bodybuilders and trainers. Do these guys look big enough to be bodybuilders? Second question, do they have the same frame and stature as the people who are seen walking before the attack? Do those guys look like bodybuilders? Do they look as big as the Osundairo brothers who are trainers, physical trainers? Or do they look like just some random guys? I think they look like they could be the guys who bought the red hat and the ski masks at the store, because they don't seem as big as the Osundairo brothers. They don't seem as buff. They don't seem like they could have a lot of muscles underneath there. But they do look like about the same frame as the guys who bought that stuff at the store. These guys, or whoever bought that stuff at the store, which were these fucking guys, according to the shopkeep, asked for mega hats, but when they couldn't get them because the store didn't sell them, according to the shopkeep, they had to buy some other kind of hat with a red bill. And you can see, if you can make it out, there's some black cotton ski masks there. So, are these the Osundairo brothers? Are these the Osundairo brothers? Do these people look like bodybuilders? Do these people look like bodybuilders? Something's up here. Someone has mistaken someone's identity. The Chicago police apparently didn't have enough money to investigate this. Or maybe they're just trying to pocket as much money as they can, steal more of Jussie Smollett's money, $130,000 of it, and pretend they investigated. Look more closely at these people's faces. Look closely at their stature. The guys who bought that stuff in the store were not bodybuilders. They couldn't have been the Osundairo brothers. At least the guy on the right probably, almost definitely, is not one of the Osundairo brothers. Something's up here. I hope you guys appreciate what I'm doing here. I know I've spent the last 6 or 7 videos just saying, the Osundairo brothers did it. It was a racketeering operation. But I hope that you appreciate that I'm looking at this new evidence and I'm keeping my mind open. I am opening you guys up to a third possibility here, that somebody else actually attacked Jussie Smollett and the cops just said it was the Osundairo brothers, because that's what made the most sense. So if you consider the possibility that the people who attacked Jussie Smollett weren't the Osundairo brothers, then it could maybe explain why Jussie Smollett looks so guilty, because it would explain why nothing he's saying matches up. Nothing seems to point to the Osundairo brothers. But if you think about it, he's never really said that the Osundairo brothers definitely did it. The police and a bunch of people who made YouTube videos about it, and me, said that, oh, if it wasn't Jussie Smollett fabricating a fake hoax staged attack against himself, then it must have been the Osundairo brothers. Well, guess what? I'm changing my position. I think both Jussie Smollett and the Osundairo brothers are innocent. And we need to have a conversation about this. Look closely at pictures of criminal suspects when they're filmed buying items used in the attacks. That's what we have to learn from all this. So can you tell me for sure that the two guys who bought those items in that store that day were definitely the Osundairo brothers? Both of them? Are you sure? Here's something that shows what I'm saying about there was never any MAGA hat. This is from face2faceafrica.com by Chelly Stanley, contributor, January 29th, 2021. Jussie Smollett and the MAGA hat that never was. And it explains that in the opinion of the author, the Chicago Police Department documented their own misconduct in myriad ways and gave stunning proof into how police departments fabricate evidence. You see, Jussie never reported a red hat. Interesting. He never said anything about a MAGA hat. The problem with this case is there's still things that we're not looking at. Look, here's a video that supposedly shows the Osundairo brothers running after the attack. This is from CBS Chicago. I hope you all realize I'm opening you all up to a third distinct possibility here, which is the possibility that there is a third possibility, that neither Jussie Smollett nor the Osundairo brothers are guilty, that they're both innocent and two other brothers did it, or one of the Osundairo brothers and one of his friends did it. That's actually four possibilities if you think about it. So consider that third possibility, collapse that motherfucking wave function, and if you have any questions for me about the Jussie Smollett case, I don't fucking know. The answer to your question is a punchline of a joke about Vietnam veterans. How many Vietnam veterans does it take to screw in a light bulb? You don't know! You weren't there! Now, this of course begs the question, how come I didn't notice earlier why the guys who bought the red hat and the ski masks in the store didn't look like the Osundairo brothers? Well, maybe I and every white person and every Chicago cop, maybe everyone just sees, oh, two black guys. Must have been the Osundairo brothers. That's the other two black guys who are together in this case that we know about. So maybe two black guys got mistaken for some other two black guys. Maybe one of the Osundairo brothers was one of the same people, but another different person was also involved who wasn't an Osundairo brother. Maybe you think that all black people look alike. Maybe I think that all black people look alike. Maybe people just think that white people think that all black people look alike because we haven't seen a lot of black people and we can't really tell which one is which if you had to ask from a lineup, because we don't see a lot of black people on a day-to-day basis. Because white people don't tend to live near black people. They tend to live near other white people. So maybe no one's actually racist, or maybe we're all racist. Or maybe we're all just a little too willing to believe the police when they say that this guy is this guy, and that this guy said this, and that this guy confessed, and that this evidence says that. Assumption after leap in logic. You have to look at the physical evidence, you have to look closely at the faces of the alleged perpetrator, or you'll never know what's going on aside from believing whatever the police tell you. I'm sorry to break it to you, but sometimes the police waste money in an investigation. Sometimes they embezzle it. Sometimes they're lazy, donut-munching motherfuckers that don't really want to get up off their ass and do any real investigative work. Sometimes they routinely violate people's civil liberties like the 4th to 8th Amendment, right? They don't even fucking get a judge's permission before they search someone or fucking arrest them or search their house. This shit happens all the time. Why are you agreeing with the corrupt Chicago police? The one that you think is coddling black people. It doesn't make any sense. You're authoritarians. Stop believing what the Chicago police say on faith. Look at the evidence they collected and compare it and contrast it against what the Osundairo brothers say, what Smollett says, and what you think about the identity of the two guys who bought those items in that store that day. So some of what I'm trying to do in this video is just to expose you to new possibilities, show you things you might not have seen before, because you might need to know about them for later. Here's a video from 2 weeks ago. That's early December, right after Jussie Smollett's defense team rested their case. It's called Jussie Smollett Testifies That the Osundairo Brothers Asked for Money to Say That They Weren't Involved in Any Hoax. Keep that in mind. You might need to know that for later. Here's something else you might not have seen. Article from face2faceafrica.com from January 29th, 2021. Jussie Smollett and the MAGA Hat That Never Was by Shelley Stanley. She says that the police' beautiful airtight case against Jussie is something else entirely, and that they've documented their own misconduct and given stunning proof into how police departments fabricate evidence. She says, you see, Jussie never reported a red hat. He never said anything about a MAGA hat. Now here is where I, Joe Kopsik, have to admit that I was wrong about something. Now, I've been telling you that Jussie Smollett never said anything about a MAGA hat. That is correct. I maintain that, and the author of this article maintains that. The thing I was wrong about is that I've been telling you that Jussie Smollett reported a red hat. And come to think of it, he actually didn't. All he has said was that he told the police that he tried to describe their stature and that he saw the first person who attacked him from the front as he approached him, and then he saw the second person from the back as that person fled. And he probably never got a real good look at anyone's face. If he did, it would have been that first person who came towards him, but that person may have been wearing a black cotton ski mask at the time. So this article is absolutely correct to point out that Jussie Smollett never reported a red hat. If you go through his interviews, watch the Good Morning America interview, he didn't say anything about a red hat. He never said anything about a MAGA hat. What he said was that his attackers yelled, "This is MAGA country." That's got nothing in there about a hat. People just assumed that he was referring to a MAGA hat because the MAGA hat is the most well-known thing associated with the phrase MAGA, aside from maybe Donald Trump. So people assumed that his attackers were wearing MAGA hats, or people assumed that he said his attackers were wearing MAGA hats, but he never said that. He never reported a red hat. If you disagree, find me an interview where he claims that his attackers wore red hats or MAGA hats. So just to stress again, I was wrong. I told you before that Jussie Smollett said that his attackers wore a red hat. I didn't say it was a MAGA hat, but I did say it was a red hat, and I was wrong. I assumed that was true because a bunch of other people were saying it. And now that I come to think of it and read this article, he has actually never said that. Continuing, one of the witnesses, a Sheraton hotel guard who saw the two attackers running from the scene immediately after the attack, also did not report a red hat. And that was probably the guys seen running in that video that was taken from a security camera within. In fact, both Jussie and the guard gave Chicago police the exact same description of the man they saw. A white man, 6 foot tall, wearing a black face mask. Neither Jussie nor the guard saw the second man's face. And that's what Jussie Smollett has said, is that he only saw the second guy while he was fleeing. He only saw the second guy from the back. So that's consistent with what Smollett's saying. So what he's saying about other stuff could be true too.
But only if Smollett and his lawyer Mark Garagos were telling the truth about the attacker being white. Or, as Garagos has suggested, having white face paint, which means he could be any race and use white face paint under a black cotton ski mask. Not referring to a plastic white ski mask, I'm talking about a wool mask.
The second man purposely hid his face from the Sheraton guard, which is noted in CPD's February 1st, 2019 report. During the interview on ABC, Jussie said that there were no red hats. He says, "I never said that. I didn't need to add anything like that. They called me the F slur, they called me the N slur. I don't need some MAGA hat as the cherry on top of some racist sundae." So it's like Smollett admits that that's unbelievable. He admits that the thing he didn't say is unbelievable. You get it? He agrees with all the people who doubt what they think is his version of the story, but that's not his version of the story. He never said there was a MAGA hat. People want to believe that when he said they yelled, "This is MAGA country" at me, they wanted to believe that, oh, they must have been wearing red hats too, or Smollett must think that they're wearing red hats too. They're jumping to conclusions. This whole case is a jump to conclusions, Matt. Smollett also told this to Chicago police directly. On January 30th, 2019, the day after the attack, he told Detective Murray, who's been accused of using homophobic slurs against a black man, I don't know if that refers to Smollett, probably someone different, says that he never said anything about a MAGA hat. There's citations here in pages of the police evidence, presumably. But by that time, the story had already taken on a life of its own. That's what I'm saying. And most people believe the attackers were wearing MAGA hats, but they weren't. I wasn't fooled, but I admit I was still fooled into thinking that it was red hats. Smollett never said there were red hats. He said that they yelled, "This is MAGA country." So you see what I'm saying? I was wrong about some things. I was wrong about the red hats. I was wrong about whether the Osundairo brothers were innocent or guilty. I was wrong when I assumed that the two guys in the store were the Osundairo brothers just because the cops said they were.
As I was crossing the intersection, I heard Empire. And I don't answer to Empire. My name ain't Empire. And I didn't answer. I kept walking, and then I heard Empire. So I turned around and I said, "Did you just say to me?" And then I see the attacker masked. And he said, "This MAGA country," punches me right in the face. So I punched his ass back. And then we started tussling. You know, it was very icy. And we ended up tussling by the stairs. Fighting. There was a second person involved who was kicking me in my back. And then it just stopped. And they ran off. And I saw where they ran. And the phone was in my pocket, but it had fallen out. And it was sitting there.
See that? Nothing about a red hat, nothing about a MAGA hat. Someone yelled, "This is MAGA country," and punched him.
The police have gone through a lot of video, and they were able to capture an image of two people of interest. Have you seen that image, and do you believe that they could possibly be the attackers?
I do.
What is it about their size, or why do you feel that they could possibly be?
Because I was there. For me, when that was released, I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. I don't have any doubt in my mind that that's them. Never did. I have private pictures and videos and numbers, my partner's number, my family's number, my castmates' number, my friends' numbers, my private emails, my private songs, my private voice memos. I don't know what that's going to be to hand over my phone for. And honestly, by then, inaccurate, false statements had already been put out there.
Earlier this week, he submitted phone records from within an hour of the incident, but Chicago police said they were limited and heavily redacted, adding they need additional information to corroborate the investigative timeline. His attorneys tell us they are willing to cooperate. Smollett also says he has been troubled by inaccurate claims. What other ones had you heard that were inaccurate?
That I had said that they were wearing MAGA hats. I never said that. I didn't need to add anything like that. They called me a. They called me a. There's no which way you cut it. I don't need some MAGA hat as the cherry on top of some racist sundae. I've heard that it was a date gone bad, which I so resent, that narrative. I'm not going to go out and get a tuna sandwich and a salad to meet somebody. That's ridiculous. And it's offensive. Yes, there's Grindr. Yes, there's Jacked. Yes, there's all of these things, which I have not been on in years. But I have not been on that in years. But aside from that, it's offensive. And I absolutely resent that narrative because it's bull.
What were your injuries? What were
They did x-rays. I didn't have, it was reported that I had like fractured ribs or cracked ribs or something like that. That wasn't true.
So there's misreporting about the nature of the injury and the extent of the injury. That seems to be a real injury. He says that it wasn't a date gone bad, so that could suggest that Smollett never even said that one of the brothers was having a homosexual relationship with him. If what Smollett's saying is true, then the whole idea that there was a date that went bad, including with the Osundairo brothers, would have to be made up for Smollett to be telling the truth about that, whether it's the Osundairo brothers or not that he was having an affair with. So I don't know what to make of that. But I hope you noticed that he said that it wasn't a MAGA hat.
And honestly, by then, inaccurate, false statement. They called me a. They called me. There's no which way you cut it. I don't need some MAGA hat as the cherry on top of some racist sundae.
The point is, we can't tell whether they were wearing any kind of hat with a bill. So we can't say for sure that those two guys in the video were wearing red hats. We can't say that they weren't either. It's hard to tell. All you can see is an outline of black. But it's interesting to note, as we just saw, Jussie Smollett says it was not a date that went wrong, which means that according to Jussie Smollett, he did not have a date with one of the Osundairo brothers that went wrong. Is it just me, or are both Jussie Smollett and the Osundairo brother who allegedly had an affair with him, are they both denying that they had an affair? Are there any texts that prove that they're having an affair? Does I love you, brother mean we're having an affair, or does it mean I think you're innocent? Or does it mean both? Maybe I think you're innocent is all that means. I love you, brother. I'm behind you 1,000%. We don't know. He's saying that he didn't have a date that went bad. So that would mean that he doesn't think the Osundairo brothers did it. Supposedly, he's having an affair with one of the Osundairo brothers. But here we have him saying that what happened wasn't the result of a date gone bad. And come to think of it, we have never seen Jussie Smollett saying directly that it definitely was the Osundairo brothers who did it. In fact, if you believe the text that supposedly shows that Jussie Smollett staged the attack, the one that says, I love you, brother, I'm 1,000% behind you, then you should be able to admit that that means that Jussie Smollett doesn't think that the Osundairo brothers are guilty, because he's texting them saying, I love you, brother, I'm behind you 1,000%. Right? So if Jussie Smollett is saying that the attack was not the result of a date gone bad, that could mean he wasn't having an affair with the Osundairo brother, but it might not mean that he was having an affair. You see, there's a lot of possibilities here. Like I named you 4 possibilities earlier. Here's a 5th possibility, that it was a white man who attacked him, and then a second person participated in the attack. I don't know who. I was wrong about a couple things, but I still don't think I'm wrong about Smollett's innocence. I think he's really innocent. I think the Osundairo brothers are innocent too. So we need to consider multiple possibilities here, because I think I've shown that not only do you guys not know anything about the Smollett case, but I don't know anything about it either. Not anymore. No one reported a red hat. If only Chicago police had listened to Jussie, then the Chicago police would not have revealed their own misconduct, in the opinion of this author, and I agree, so intricately, astonishingly, and stunningly for all the world to see. Many people throughout the world will remember seeing a photo which was used as proof that Jussie lied, that there was no hate crime, that he and the Nigerian-American Osundairo brothers were involved in a preposterous hoax. The detective who says he found the video of these brothers buying a red hat is none other than Detective Richard Hagan, who was sued by Laquan McDonald's family for covering up a Chicago police officer murdering the child after Laquan was shot 16 times. The city of Chicago paid $5 million to settle the lawsuit. So the cop who says he found the video of the brothers buying the red hat, which I've now exposed may not be the Osundairo brothers in the first place, at least one of them, I'm pretty sure, is not an Osundairo brother. The guy who says that the video of the 2 individuals buying the red hats has to do with the Smollett case in the first place is a guy who was sued for helping cover up the Laquan McDonald shooting, where a guy was shot 16 times and shot to death. So it should show you that Chicago has a pattern of corruption and of framing black people and just shooting them before people can figure out what's going on, instead of giving them a fair trial. Detective Hagan reports that to find this red hat video, he engaged in investigative work that is a little difficult to believe. Detective Hagan and his colleague, Detective Parages, report that they searched beauty stores to see which ones sold red hats, and discovered that only one did. They went to this store, and Detective Hagen writes that, at the suggestion of Detective Parages, Detective Hagen checked the video at around 10 a.m. Why 10 a.m.? I don't know where that came from. Why did he go around and look for stores that sold red hats? Smollett never said there was a red hat. None of the video evidence suggested they were wearing red hats. If Smollett never said it was a MAGA hat and never said it was a red hat, then it's possible that his attackers, if the attack did happen, which the jury believes, according to CBS Chicago, it's possible that they weren't even wearing any kind of hat with a bill at all, and that they were just wearing hoods and ski masks. Article continues, what luck for Detectives Hagen and Parages. With just that much work, they were able to, quote, observe two subjects enter the store and purchase several items, which included gloves, face masks, and red hat, end quote. And we can plainly see from that video, they did buy face masks that were black and a red hat. I didn't see the gloves, but there's a bunch of other stuff they were buying. Looked like it could have been gloves. Looked like it was made out of some kind of fabric. That checks out, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everything Detective Hagen is saying is true. Remember that. Detective Hagen's report focuses intently on the red hat. Why would it focus intently on the red hat that Jussie Smollett never mentioned? It's almost like he's trying to concoct something, or make guesswork. I mean, it's good that he went into the store, but why are we focusing on the red hat? I thought it was the sandwich that explains everything. Eddie Johnson. Detective Hagen writes that various camera angles show the brother with the red hat, referring to the video footage taken within the store, the beauty store, including walking, quote, around the aisle with a red baseball cap in hand, end quote, and walking, quote, to the counter, placing several items on counter, including a red hat, end quote. I don't dispute that that's what they bought, but I don't think it was the Osundairo brothers. Detective Hagen says he found the red hat video on February 16th, 2019. That was about 2.5 weeks after the attack, when the Osundairo brothers were at a hotel under Chicago police's 24-hour surveillance and security, supposedly to protect the brothers from the media. The brothers were put under this 24-hour surveillance and security after being subjected to police misconduct during their interviews. The Osundairo brothers were under the security until the police took them to testify at the grand jury on February 20th. The same day, the video of them buying a red hat was leaked to the media and broadcast widely, causing quite a stir. Now again, I'm not convinced that it was the Osundairo brothers buying that red hat. The next day, Jussie Smollett was indicted by CPD, who declared that he was nothing but a liar. While the Chicago police may have, in the short term, seemed like they built an airtight case against Jussie, what they actually did was greatly overplay their hand, because no one reported a red hat. No one reported a MAGA hat. I agree with this assessment. Yet Chicago police focused their investigation on finding stores that sold red hats, and then very easily found a video of two Nigerian brothers buying a red hat. Yet, if Chicago police had only listened to Jussie, who told them that he never said anything about a MAGA hat, and if only Chicago police had read their own initial police reports, again, there's links to this stuff. Have you ever seen this article? You ever heard this information? I just found it, so I can't blame you. Their own initial police reports, which said nothing about the attackers wearing a red hat. The author of this article is saying the Chicago police had reports saying that Smollett said nothing about his attackers wearing a red hat. So they're saying if the Chicago police had paid attention to that, they could have avoided a stunning spectacle, because not only did they fabricate evidence, they incompletely fabricated the wrong evidence. After they hid all the video evidence and witnesses that showed there was at least one white masked man at the attack, after they lied repeatedly to the public, telling us that they found no videos or witnesses at all. I do remember hearing about one guy who was a witness, but CPD never really did listen to Jussie in this case after he reluctantly reported the hate crime. They didn't listen to what he said about what the attackers look like or what they're wearing, and didn't listen when he told them that it was a hate crime. Instead, the police took the story and put their own spin on it, so it literally became the CPD's story, the Chicago police's story, that the world heard. I agree with that. But in the end, a simple red MAGA hat will be their undoing. In the end, that very MAGA hat will clear Jussie Smollett's name. In the end, the hat will reveal to the world that the police brazenly lied to us all. The police were the ones who wasted our time, not Jussie Smollett, and purposely confused probably a billion people who have remained confused for 2, now 3 years. In the end, the MAGA hat that never was will be the thing that puts Chicago police under the gaze of the world, but this time, everyone will be looking directly at them. If you want to read the police reports and check page numbers, see this document. I'll put that in the description. Here's something else you might not have seen. I know I just got done saying that the MAGA hat probably doesn't tell you anything, but the fact that Jussie Smollett never reported it, and yet people seem to think that it was there on the head of his attackers, that should tell you something. That should tell you that something's up with the MAGA hat. Maybe. Anyway, I don't know what's going to come of this. I just think this is strange. TMZ reported 6 days ago, December 15th, 2021, Osundairo brother rocks MAGA hat, but it's not a shot at Jussie. Abel Osundairo was proudly rocking a red MAGA hat while celebrating a big moment in his boxing career, but he says he's not throwing a jab at Jussie Smollett. There's a video TMZ obtained of Abel and his brother Ola celebrating Abel becoming the top amateur boxer in his weight class, partying it up at a Chicago club with some eye-catching hats. Abel's got a red hat that says MAGA, which plays like a reference to Jussie claiming his attackers yelled, "This is MAGA country." And he did claim that. I agree with that. TMZ's right on that. During the hoax attack. I'm not sure about that. So, again, I'm not saying with any confidence that this guy is one of the Osundairo brothers. For all I know, TMZ could be making half of this shit up. I honestly don't know. This is the first time I'm looking at this article. I can't really tell who's who. I'm seeing a lot of faces I've never seen before. This is apparently supposed to be Abel. I guess it could be. Sure. Abel's attorney, Gloria Rodriguez, tells TMZ that the hat is not a shot at Smollett or a show of support for Donald Trump, that he customized the MAGA hat with an outline of Africa as the letter A because he wants the hat to be a reflection of his Nigerian heritage. Make Africa great again. Remember, we've seen Abel show off his boxing prowess before, so it's no shock that he's climbing the ranks. So again, these guys are boxers and physical trainers. So that could very well all be true. For all I know, it is true, and that's one of the Osundairo brothers. That's them hugging, and TMZ is accurately reporting, and Gloria Rodriguez, Abel's attorney, really did say this. Okay, sure. I have no reason to doubt any part of this. It could be true, and it doesn't necessarily point to the Osundairo brothers' guilt or innocence. It might point to their innocence. It doesn't say anything about Jussie Smollett. It just goes deeper and deeper. You can stop anytime you want. You can keep going anytime you want. You ever heard of this before? I haven't. Jussie Smollett, quote-unquote attacker, Abel Osundairo, wants items returned. Were they the items used in the attack? According to TMZ, Abel wants some of the items back that were seized from him, including a black ski mask and a red hat. So that could point to the Osundairo brothers' guilt. Or someone at TMZ is lying. And it is possible that TMZ is lying because a red hat was not in the list of evidence that the police confiscated from the Osundairo brothers. So that should cause us to be suspicious. Because, once again, I'm not sure that those are really the Osundairo brothers. The one on the right doesn't really look buff enough to be one of them. But I'm saying they could be and probably are, in my opinion, right now, I think. They're probably the same people as the people who were seen walking on the street that night that we saw an outline of all black. I'm not sure that it's them, but I think it's more likely that these two guys you're seeing here buying items at the store, it's more likely that they are the guys who are on the street than the possibility that these are the Osundairo brothers. Again, like I've said, the guy on the left, camera left, might be an Osundairo brother. I'm not sure. And I bet you're not sure if you're looking at this closely. So if this is true that Abel Osundairo wants some personal items back from the police that they seized now that they've been found not guilty. So just so you know, this article is from June 2020. This is a year and a half ago, and a year and a half after the attack, almost. Abel Osundairo wants some personal items back from the police that were taken during a search warrant, including a black ski mask and a red hat. I don't even know what to make of that, honestly. It's almost like Abel Osundairo is confessing by saying, I want my black ski mask and my red hat back. Well, it sounds like that if you think the Osundairo brothers did it, which I previously thought. But now that I think of it more, what if these guys aren't the Osundairo brothers? And what if Abel Osundairo is right to ask for those items back because they weren't used in the attack? Well, if that's true, then why is there a red hat and ski mask being bought right here at the store by these guys? Are these guys the Osundairo brothers? Or are these guys not the Osundairo brothers? Or is one of them an Osundairo and another one's his friend who he hired to beat up Jussie Smollett because he's gay and is mad that his brother's having sex with Jussie Smollett? Is this TMZ article just completely made up? I honestly have no idea, and I'm willing to bet that you don't either. And if you have any guesses, please tell me in the comments. And if you have a Scribd.com account, you can see the Jussie Smollett case files, all 491 pages of them, at scribd.com/documents/411963195/Jussie-Smollett.
So please try to understand that I'm really presenting 10 different new possibilities here. I mean, maybe 8 of them are new, 10 total. 1. Possibility that Jussie Smollett staged a fake hoax attack on himself. 2. The possibility that the Osundairo brothers extorted and racketeered Jussie Smollett for protection money. 3. The possibility that one of the Osundairo brothers hired one of his friends to beat up Jussie Smollett because they were mad that the other brother was gay and dating Smollett. That could even be 2 possibilities right there. There doesn't need to have been an affair happening for that possibility to happen, but it makes it more likely. And there's a 4th possibility, which is that 2 guys, neither of whom were the Osundairo brothers, were the one who attacked Smollett. Then a 5th possibility is that Smollett was attacked by a white guy who was wearing a black wool or cotton ski mask with eye holes. And I say that's really 10 because of those possibilities, of those 5 possibilities I just named, for each of those, there's a dual possibility of scenario, which is whether or not the affair was happening. So, for the third one to happen without an affair happening doesn't make much sense, but there's still 9 other likely possibilities. Now, I want you to tell me in the comments, which of these 10 possibilities do you think is the most likely after watching this video? And I want to remind you what we've learned in this video. First, Smollett never said that an affair happened, and he never said that there was a date gone wrong. He specifically said there wasn't a date gone wrong. And the brothers denied that there was any affair going on. And another thing we've learned is that there was no red hat and no MAG ad. So keeping that in mind, which do you think is more likely? Tell me in the comments. I just want a number. And add any other comment you like. 1. Jussie Smollett staged a fake attack against himself, but there was no affair that happened with anyone. Or number 2. Jussie Smollett staged a fake attack against himself, and an affair did happen. Number 3. The Osundairo brothers really attacked Smollett and then extorted him and racketeered him for protection money, and an affair happened. 4. The Osundairo brothers really attacked Smollett and extorted and racketeered him for protection money, but no affair happened. 5. The heterosexual Osundairo brother hired a friend to help him beat Smollett up for a homophobic reason, and an affair happened. Number 6. The heterosexual Osundairo brother hired a friend to beat Smollett up for a homophobic reason, but no affair happened. Which I think is very unlikely because it doesn't make any sense. What would the motive be for beating him up if it wasn't for homophobic reasons? But you can still say it if you think that's what happens. Number 7. Smollett's 2 attackers were black, but they were not the Osundairo brothers, and an affair did happen. Number 8. Smollett's 2 attackers were black, but they were not the Osundairo brothers, and no affair happened. Number 9. Smollett was attacked by 1 white man, or 2, and the affair happened. Number 10. Smollett was attacked by 1 white man, or 2, but no affair happened. Let me know what you think.